Game of Thrones is coming back the 16th of July, mark your calendars. And there's a lot of stories that have been popping up. One that caught our eye is Sophie Turner, who plays Sansa Stark. She says that she got a lot of her sex education because she was hired when she was 12 to do this. She got a lot of her sex education, not from her friends at a sleepover or from a gym teacher, but rather from being in Game of Thrones and reading the scripts at table reads. She said the first time I ever found out about oral sex was from reading the script. I was like, wow, people do that? That's fascinating. I guess that was my sex education being on Game of Thrones. Thoughts, 5 words or less.
Winter is coming, like a coming.
Ew.
Coming. Get it? It's a blowjob reference.
I was gonna say, sounds about right.
Stark naked. Am I right? Stark naked, is that a thing? Is that a word?
Yeah, you can say that.
Stark ass, you can say it. It's not a good idea to say it, but it is.
I was stark naked.
What do you, I mean, what a crazy experience.
This isn't that far out of something I think I've sort of heard before. Like I know that I think Drew Barrymore's first kiss was on camera. I think maybe Selena Gomez's was as well. I don't know.
So nuts.
But I know I'd like her to tell me if it was. Anyway, but I remember one of my first like not sexual awakenings, but of like, oh, this is what people do in bed was not from my parents, thank God. It was from reading The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks in an airport. And I don't know, I was young at the time. I was maybe like 13 or 14, and I was reading it. And even though it was just me, I felt like everyone around me knew I was reading a sex scene. And it would like reading through it, I was like, oh, that's a position, that's a thing that people will do by the fire always. And so I wasn't that surprised that people have this sort of awakening, especially an actor if you're in an adult role, reading through a script. And that's kind of a good way to know about it because you don't have someone talking. You can kind of figure it out on your own, ask questions if you need.
But have you watched Game of Thrones?
I have.
Like Sansa's character specifically is treated terribly. I mean, we've done stories on this show about how a lot of the sex scenes are just rape scenes. Like what an intense way to find out about it.
Well, this was about blowjobs though, right?
This was about blowjobs, but then like, I mean.
There's more.
There's more. There's really graphic stuff that happens to her character who's raked over the goals, essentially.
I can't get into Game of Thrones. I'm sorry, you guys. I just can't. And let's just be technical. It's called fellatio.
Yeah,
I call them
because it was invented in Italy.
Blowgies. So, Brett, your question was learning about sex, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, summer of '92, I was 12, and my friend Joey had these old 1970 porn VHSs. So all the dudes, I mean, when you're 12 years old, going on 13, your mind's starting to think about, oh, what's going on down below, and things are happening, right? So I decided, hey guys, let's all come over and just watch porn. And so that was my first, and so Joey, I was like, Joey, bring the videos, because his dad had this, dad was in the army, Vietnam.
Nice, he's an army man.
Yeah, so his dad had this old school, like really big black briefcase full of just like the most raunchiest quadruple X porn, I swear, ever. Jeez. And so you find out, like I found out about straight sex, summer of '92. Now my gay LGBT sexual awakening didn't happen until like 25.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, it's just very weird how my parents never ever had the sex talk.
Really?
Ever. And I would be mortified if my mom pulled me aside and said, Jay, I want to talk to you about the birds and the bees. That would be a quick beeline out the room. But I mean, I don't think kids nowadays are having those kind of talks anymore. I think I just feel
like there's so many more resources now. Like I know that the internet when I was a kid took forever to load. It was really slow. So I remember being in like 8th grade and it was just a page ripped out of an adult magazine and it was just a vagina up close.
Yeah.
And I just remember looking at it going like, what the fuck is that? Like that is so crazy, that's what it is? I don't know, oh creepy. But other than that, man, we had like science class where they were like, here's a cartoon vagina and here's a cartoon penis.
See, that to me, I I kind of wanted the dirtiness of it all. Like I guess I'm a freak like that. I enjoyed the whole like raunchiness of it. I think that to me that was very intriguing because of course you had sex ed class and that was just like a cleansed, very just PC, very easy way of digesting sex. I wanted the more like it's gonna be hot, raunchy. Like what I saw in the porn videos is what I wanted my experiences to be.
So my first porn experience was on a class trip. Sorry, Mom, I'll tell you that you paid for me to go see porn. It was a class trip. We went to like DC in 8th grade, and in the hotel room, it was like Cinemax, and it was HBO, and it was David Duchovny in a Red Shoe Diary, and it was just like this really intense, but also like sensual, romanticized porn. It was it's just like, okay, so that's what it's like.
But so this is what I sort of take away from this story is that a lot of people would rather learn about sex sort of in their own time and ask questions should they feel so moved.
Yeah.
Like present yourself with all the information, have your sex ed class, which I think is important. And then if you want to ask your parents, feel open to ask them, or like reading books or watching movies, like you kind of figure it out. And sex is such a, like sexual preferences and desires are so personal and they feel so embarrassing when you're first coming into it.
Yeah, dude, I remember trying to buy condoms for the first time.
I wonder if maybe she was a little bit grateful that she could have this moment of like, oh, people do that, realizing it on her own instead of someone like looking her in the eyes and like gauging her reaction. She was able to have sort of a private reaction to the script, and then they kind of threw her character in the deep end.
Right, but I would say like, listen, most of what you are presented regarding sex as a consumer of media or person in a social group is exaggerated.
Yep.
For dramatic effect, or just to make people seem cool. So one thing I know is most people who are telling you about their sexual experience, especially if it's in a braggy way, are exaggerating, making it up, lying. And also those people who are just like experimenting with that kind of stuff, they are not the experts in it by any means. Like there will be, I mean, I think that's the truth. And then when you watch porn, it's just like moaning way too much.
Yeah.
It's not really how it is. And I think there's a detrimental effect that has on people when they're actually experiencing sex for the first time. But regardless, no matter how embarrassed you might be by trying to buy condoms or something like that, just go through with it. You could say it's as a joke. Buy that and silly string and like Mylar balloons and say it's a gift for a friend. Just do it, go, and that's that, but have them.
And Sophie's very fortunate that she was able to be on an iconic, legendary show and learn about sex, you know what I mean? Because now I feel really dirty after Grace just gave that, Grace, you're always so nice about stuff. I felt like, oh my gosh, I should have never told my porn story, I'm sorry.
What would I do?
It's fine, Grace ruins everything. I know, just look at her.
Hate your life, talk to Grace Baldwin.
Monster. Grace is a monster.